Arlo and the Black Count by Nicholas Matt. Chapter 1. The darkness of a damp autumn night covered the small village. Neither the moon nor the stars could be seen in the sky. The sky and the land were both pitch black. Everyone in the village slept soundly after a long day of harvesting. Arlo awoke to loud howls besides the usual dog barks, though he was tired and sleepy. At 18, he was just as involved in the daily chores as the adults, so he always went to bed exhausted at night. But now he jumped out of bed because he could hear not just dogs, but horses neighing quite close by. He ran to his father to wake him up because he saw riders with torches in their own yard through the window. "Father, come quickly! They are going to break into our house!" cried Arlo. His father grabbed a stick, opened the door, and stepped out. Before he could get a good look, a rider had already knocked him down. There must have been 4 or 5 of them in black clothes, though Arlo couldn't see properly in the dark. Their faces were also covered, armed with torches and swords. Arlo ran to his father and picked up the stick. "What do you want from us? Who are you?" Arlo shouted. The moving and flaring torches gave the impression of giant monsters in the light as the huge black horses thumped their hooves, and the masked soldiers loomed on their backs. One of them stepped out and walked slowly towards Arlo, sword raised. Arlo thought that he had no chance against them with a plain stick, so he moved slowly towards the barn, looking for some tool to defend himself with. He knew that even if he had, say, an axe in his hand, he wouldn't stand a chance against 4 armed horsemen, but he wasn't about to give in so easily. The rider changed direction and began to follow Arlo. The others just watched. Then Arlo's sister Daisy appeared in the doorway. One of the soldiers had already jumped over. Daisy was frightened and ran into the house. The soldier jumped off his horse and followed her. Arlo hoped that his sister would hide well inside, but she seemed too curious to do that. He thought no more of the tools, only of his sister. "No!" He yelled and ran back to the door, but it was too late. He felt a hard, dull blow on the back of his head. He collapsed, but he could still see vaguely as the soldier carried Daisy out on his shoulders, put her on the horse, and then rode off. Then he fainted. By the next morning the clouds had cleared from the sky. Rain filtered in through the window, and Arlo woke to bird song in his own bed. It seemed almost idyllic, except for 2 things. One was a splitting headache, and the other was his friend Owen, who was sitting next to him. "What are you doing here?" Arlo asked quietly. "Thank God you're better," replied his friend. "Do you remember what happened last night?" asked Owen. "I have a terrible headache," said Arlo. Then he sat up and held the back of his head as he thought hard. "Daisy! They've taken Daisy away!" He jumped up and ran out of the room. Owen caught up with him in the other room where Arlo's father lay. Owen's mother was there too, Aunt Molly. She was dressing the old man's head. "How is he?" asked Arlo. "He is not yet awake. In fact, he hasn't moved yet, so we brought him in. He must have taken a heavy blow on the head," explained Auntie Molly. "Arlo, I'm so sorry about what happened to you. We got here too late. I wish there was something I could do to help," offered Owen. "You've helped me a lot already, my friend. I don't expect you to come with me," said Arlo. "Come with you? I don't understand. Come with you where?" "To save Daisy," Arlo declared firmly. "You seem to have hit your head hard and not remember who we are up against. And if your poor mother were still alive, do you think she would want her son to die on a dangerous road?" Owen tried to argue. "I remember the masked soldiers very well. One of them had a black sword. I can't wait here idly. My father is helpless now, so I must act. From the sound of the voices, they must have come from the north, from the mountains. I'll ask around and find out who they were." He went back to his room, took out his bag, and started packing. "I'm going with you. You wouldn't stand a chance without me anyway," said Owen. "All right, Owen, go home and get ready for the journey. I'll wait for you here, but hurry," Arlo urged his friend, and he hurried off. When they were both ready, Aunt Molly promised to look after Arlo's father. They said goodbye and set off. After a couple of hours of walking, they reached the old watermill on the riverbank by the small bridge. This river marked the boundary of the village. The watermill was built 100 years ago and had not been used for a long time. It was a very rickety structure, but the old miller lived in it and tinkered with it, sometimes managing to get it going for a while. He was outside working on something. "Did you see any black riders around here last night?" asked Arlo. "They took my little sister." "Black riders in the pitch-black night?" wondered the miller. "As a matter of fact, I did, for they were forced to carry torches so that they could see the road," replied the miller with great calmness. "And which way were they going?" asked Arlo. "That way, into the forest." The old man pointed in the direction of the forest. Arlo thanked him and was about to leave, but the miller called after them. "Hey, you two, can you help me get this big rock down to the river bank? I can't manage it." He pointed to a child-sized stone he'd recently dug up. "We're in a bit of a hurry, but we'd be happy to help. Come on, Owen." Arlo turned back. The two boys could barely manage to move it, mostly by just rolling it. The old man showed them where to put it, and finally, they managed to put it there. "I don't have much to give you as a token of my gratitude, except this bag of flour and this old key. It's good for several kinds of locks. You might find it useful." Arlo put the flour and the key away, said goodbye, and they walked across the bridge. Chapter 2. The cellar of Count Walter's castle was very spacious. The torches lit the room quite well. There were some tables, cupboards, and 2 cages with bars. Both were empty for the moment. In the middle of the room was a small sort of hearth. An old woman in a black hooded dress was lighting the fire when the old but sturdy oak door creaked open. Count Walter entered and gave way to a soldier in a black mask, who brought the dazed Daisy in his arms. Despite his young age, the Count was a man of considerable authority in the castle, not only because of his rank. He was strict with the staff, the workers, and the soldiers. His expression was always somber. No one had ever seen him smile. But now he allowed himself a half-smile. "Count, I see you've had good luck," said the hooded woman. "Yes, I have managed to get a young girl. Now it's your turn, old woman," said Walter. "Count, did you make sure that the girl was born under the same sign as the princess?" she asked. "Yes, I have made a thorough investigation," said the Count. "That is splendid. It's the only way the spell will work. By adding the girl's blood, I'll make a potion for the princess that will make her fall in love with my lord and never look at another man. And it is well known that the princess only wants to marry for love. The potion better work, and if you try to trick me, I'll have your head, or I might have you burned at the stake. I don't know yet." "That won't be necessary, my lord. You won't be disappointed. I'll get the ceremony ready." "Very well. I have already made arrangements for the princess. My soldiers will kidnap her, and then I will be the heroic rescuer," said the Count. "That's a very original idea, my lord," the witch flattered. She knew very well why the Count had become so wicked. Count Walter was the middle son in the family. His old brother had inherited their father's estates, and his young brother had rescued a princess somewhere in the west, so he had won her and half the kingdom. But Walter had nothing left, neglected by everyone, left out of everything. Eventually he found that he could get his way by lying and deceiving others. So he built himself a small army of sorts and tried to collect protection money from as many provinces as possible, which he called taxes. Eventually he set his sights on the whole kingdom. He knew well that the only way to get it was to marry the king's daughter. But she wouldn't even see him. She couldn't stand such dowry hunters. So he decided to use magic to win her love.